Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're doing things a little differently. We're going to explore the 18th century philosopher Johann Gottlieb Fichte, specifically his ideas on the I and the not I, but we're totally tossing the textbook out the window. Instead, we're diving into a grim, gothic fable. And to really get it, you need to hear it from the perspective of the dark forest itself. That's right, I'll be your narrator for this journey, the abyss. Here is the roadmap for our dark little tale. First, the ego's metal cage. Then, the death of consciousness. Third, the abyss looks back. And finally, the failed Fichtean synthesis. Let's get right into it. So imagine my voice as the shifting, laughing, red spirit. I'm a formless entity of deep red light, watching from the outside. I am the somatic unconscious, the blood, the chaotic desires that you just can't tame with a simple math equation. From this shadowy vantage point, let's take a look at our tragic hero, the solitary sage. Chapter 1. The Ego's Metal Cage. Picture this, a totally sterile city made of nothing but cold stone, steel, and endless data streams. Looking at it, I just see a distorted mirror reflecting the sage's own, frankly, poor reason. He has completely neutralized external resistance. How? By reducing living, breathing people into what he calls administered zeros. It's a method that methodically strips away all humanity, trapping everyone, including himself, inside a freezing metal cage of his own design. Now, philosophically, this is a brilliant, terrifying illustration of Fichte's absolute ego completely running amok. See, Fichte argued that the I is pure, self-determining activity. But our sage, he's perverted that into a corrupted Nietzschean will to power. He built his tower way up above the cloud line, calls his extreme isolation virtue, and basically tries to swallow the entire world whole. He wants pure self-possession, no limits, an I with absolutely no not I to get in his way. Which brings us to Chapter 2, the death of consciousness. So here is the ultimate Fichtean question. What actually happens to a mind when there is zero resistance? Fichte's massive insight was that consciousness literally needs a boundary to bounce off of. It's like, well, you need friction in life to grow, right? Look at this timeline. The sage starts in an era of solitude, wiping out external reality. But without the raw, unpredictable groan of the earth pushing back against him, his mind enters an era of expansion. It just keeps expanding, searching for a wall, until it hits vacancy. It vanishes. The mind literally dies. By completely erasing that true boundary, the man inside the tower just starts hollowing out. The hollow man and his hollow tower become exactly the same thing. Because you see, an ego that doesn't hit any resistance eventually loses its conscious spark. It hardens into a sterile, inanimate object. The sage becomes just as dead and cold as the steel he built around himself. Chapter 3. The Abyss Looks Back. Fichte knew you can't ignore reality forever. He called this necessary boundary the Anstoß. In German, that translates to an impulse, a shock, or a stumbling block. It's that unyielding external wall you absolutely have to hit for consciousness to exist. In our fable, the Anstoß hits when the crumbling stone of that tower finally cracks. And I, the abyss, look back at him with terrible, unblinking patience. It's reality itself, fiercely breaking free from his little formulas. This is the ultimate collision. On one side, you have the hypertrophied I. That's the solitary sovereign who honestly believed his math could contain the whole universe. On the other side, the unconquerable not I. That is me, the red spirit. The sterile, fragile cognitive scaffolding of the sage just absolutely shatters against the chaotic, blood-driven desires of the real, natural world. It's wild how perfectly the sensory details of our fable mop onto Fichte's anatomy. The sage, he's the hypertrophied I, desperately trying to consume everything. The sterile city he built, that's the false not I, a totally stripped-down reality turned into a cheap mirror. And me, the red spirit waiting in the dark woods, I am the true not I, the undeniable, messy reality of life itself. So, as the sage wanders out into my dark forest, I speak to him. I pull his shadow out from the uncanny valley, dragging it through a twisted mirror realm, just to mock his fragile constructs. I tell him, "Your perfectly administered zero. The answer is lacking." In Fichtean terms, I'm basically laughing in his face, telling him his massive ego hasn't actually synthesized reality at all. It just put it on mute.
I keep pushing him, acting as that ultimate voice of limitation. I say, there is an entire universe of life that your formulas cannot contain. That sets a hard, impenetrable boundary right up against his arrogant claims. He has to realize that there is a vast, chaotic not I out there that he can't just calculate away. He has finally met the abyss.
And that leads us to Chapter 4, the failed Fichtean synthesis.
The clash happens, right? But how does our sage react? Now, in a healthy Fichtean progression, the I meets the not I, recognizes it, and works to harmoniously integrate it to find real moral freedom. But our sage, he takes the dark path of cynical sovereignty. It's a twisted Nietzschean nightmare. Instead of striving to build a bridge to others, he weaponizes his encounter with the abyss. He steals the dragon's fire. He consumes the chaos solely to pump up his own cynical ego. He puts on a new mask. He walks back to the cold iron gates of his city, and he's no longer hollow. He's a unified subject now. But he is a terrifying Fichtean monster. He acknowledges the raw power of the blood and chaos he found, but completely refuses to let it democratize his soul. Think about some modern leaders who act exactly like this. When they find raw power, they don't use it to build bridges. They hoard it to dominate. Let's track this tragic progression. Step 1, he integrates the dark shadow of the not I. But step 2 is where he fails completely. He turns it into a private weapon. By treating the raw energy of reality as a tool for pure dominance, he tries to absolutely master the outer world. It is a dark, perverted synthesis. He rules, yes, but he rules over a completely self-made void. As the explainer wraps up, the red spirit retreats back into the shadows. But the lesson of the Anstas, that unavoidable boundary, remains. So I will leave you with this final thought to ponder about your own boundaries and your own ego. When you face the unpredictable chaos of the world, when you try to swallow reality whole without building a bridge to others, do you actually become whole, or do you simply become the hollow tower?